Hey everyone, this is episode 5 of the SHFT Hockey Podcast, and I'm going to tell you that this will end up being one of the most amazing hockey stories you'll ever hear. I'm Jory Elliott, and thanks for being here. Today, we all get to listen to the story of Terry Martin, an ice hockey goaltender from Alberta who was recruited to play roller hockey at the University of Nevada in Las Vegas. During his time at UNLV, he was recruited to play for the men's varsity hockey team, and ended up helping that program earn NCAA Division I status. He did all of that while completing his education, continuing to play on the roller hockey team, and all in the city of unlimited temptation, Las Vegas. He also played roller hockey on the world stage, competing internationally for Team Canada. But that's far from where the story ends. The loss of his dad, combined with his desire for continued education, led him to the University of Waterloo, where he just completed his studies and shared in the experiences of playing hockey with his younger brother Trevor, who's a starting goaltender for the men's varsity team. That's led to some of the greatest memories he'll take away from the game, as is clearly evidenced by how passionately he speaks about it during our conversation. I'm grateful to Terry for sharing his story, and it's time we get this one rolling. Here's my conversation with Terry Martin on the SHFT Hockey Podcast. Thanks again for listening, and enjoy. Terry, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Let's jump right to growing up in northern Alberta and sort of the path that you traveled and the process that unfolded that led you to Division II hockey in Las Vegas, because that seems like a huge jump to me from northern Alberta to Las Vegas.
Yeah, definitely. The climate's definitely a little different. But yeah, so I guess it just started me just playing different sports throughout the summers. Like I started playing lacrosse in the summer and football and and volleyball, basketball, and stuff like that. And then one year, one of my friends was looking for a goalie for his roller hockey team. I just decided to go out one day and try it out, and it's a lot harder than ice for sure, but I figured it out after a few years. And then a couple of years later, this Team Alberta program for roller hockey was looking for people to join. So I went out and tried out for that, and I made the team, and we went to Chicago for this tournament called State Wars, which is a big roller hockey tournament in the United States that very few Canadian teams have ever played in.
Okay.
So we were lucky to play in that, and we ended up winning gold that year, which was pretty cool. We were the first Canadian team to win that division. That was a Canadian team in the U.S. And that was pretty interesting. So I did that for 3 years too. So the next year we won silver, and then the third year we won bronze. So we got to go through all the medals there. And then that third year, this coach from a university in Philadelphia, it's called Newman University, they had a D1 roller hockey team, and he talked to me there. He was trying to recruit me to get me to go. So I realized there's opportunity to play Division I roller hockey in the States. So I looked up some more teams, and I found out there was one in Vegas, and that's the one I wanted to play for. So I went for that. And then, yeah, the next year I went to UNLV playing roller hockey instead of ice hockey. And then I didn't even know they had an ice hockey team there until the next year when they needed a goalie. I think one of their goalies got hurt, and then asked me to come out. And they were Division 3 at that point too. So we played a year of Division 3. And we ended up winning almost every game there and pretty much knocking the competition out of the water. And then after that year, a couple of the guys on the team got together and hired these new people like Nick Ruboni and Z Khan, who had a vision for the program to get it to D1. So they were modeling it after Arizona State's program, who went Division 1 a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, then that next year we moved right up to Division 2, no problem. We were the first team in that program history to make it to nationals and to that regional tournament. And then the next year after that, we were still Division 2. And that was my last year there. And yeah, we went to the national championship again, and we ended up winning a game there that year. So we won one game for the first time. And then after that, I left and then ended up in Waterloo.
Well, that's like my mind is blown right now because I had no idea about that. Like, so you're telling me you played roller hockey, and that's what got you scouted to go to the U.S. to play. I didn't even know they had Division 1 roller hockey, first of all.
Yeah,
so
it's big, yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's incredible. So that tournament in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Was the whole turning point for you as that led you down this incredible path that you had no idea you were going to go down, which I think is that's the neatest part of the story, is that it's you can have a vision or an idea, or like you're doing something for fun, but then the things that come out of that are just can be incredible. And so you went to UNLV. Why did you pick UNLV? Because you said you had an offer to go to play D1 in Philly. So what was the lure of Vegas? You got a gambling problem or what?
No, not at the time. But I think I called the coach, and he invited me to come down for a skate, and I think just seeing the city and seeing all the guys there really helped me, and it's always been a place where my family goes every summer almost. So we're pretty comfortable being there, I guess, and we've always enjoyed the city. So
okay, yeah. So that again, like everybody talks about when they make the decision to go to school, the connection to family and how important that is, and even if it is that much distance apart, there's still a comfort level for travel and stuff if family's going to come visit, and that's really cool. So you're playing roller hockey at UNLV, and somebody comes to you and goes, hey, our ice hockey team needs a goalie. And like what goes through your head at that moment when you're like, I didn't even know they had a team when I went here, and now they're asking me to play on it? Like, how did that go down?
Yeah, it was at the beginning of the first semester in September or something. But yeah, I didn't know they had one, but when I got on the team and I played the first game, and they have big crowds there. Like even before the Knights were there, people loved hockey. Like
awesome.
People are saying that Vegas isn't a hockey town, but it really was. Like there's a big cult following for hockey there.
So you're going from roller hockey. Like how many people would have been watching the roller hockey games?
Not many at the roller. It's mostly like parents and maybe a few other people for roller, but on the ice hockey, there's people that would come from North Las Vegas all the way down, and like they come travel for it.
Yeah, that's unreal. So you go out for the hockey team, and you're playing D3, but you guys run show on the league. And then did they bump you up to D2 the following year because of that? Or like, how does that process kind of go from your knowledge of it?
Well, like we weren't supposed to go up to D2, but when they hired Nick Raboni and Zcon, they were the ones that advocated our team to go to D2. And then that summer they started recruiting some more guys to try to get on the team to help us get to a level where we can compete with better talent.
Right.
Yeah.
And so during your time in D2, I know you were the starting goalie at one point during that stretch, and you kind of set the tone, like your team or those two people that were hired and the recruits they started bringing in, and you being part of that is what set the tone for the team to eventually make the jump to D1 just after you left the school.
Yeah.
But when you were there,
yeah, I didn't get to play D2.
But when you were there playing D2, you would have had to, I'm sure, hit some specific performance markers or like accomplishments as a team or a program in order for them to even give you consideration, right? So like, what did you guys do as a group over the next few years of you playing there that set the tone for that advancement to D1?
Well, we started practicing more, and like we started modeling it like we were already playing in the NCAA. So we were practicing every day, and in the morning we'd practice at 7 a.m, go right to school, and then after school I had to go to roller hockey practice too. And then
so you were still doing both?
Yeah, I did both.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. And then we had I think to get to D1 we had to at least make it to the Final Four in the national championships. And then we had to win a regional tournament, I think. But yeah, there's just a bunch of. I didn't really know the markers, but we were just told just play your best and it'll come.
Yeah. Well, and that's essentially what it comes down to always, isn't it? Like go out and play your best, and the things will happen the way they're supposed to. Whether that's winning or losing, it's sometimes not in your control. You just got to go out and play your best. So that's pretty cool. I think that's like just such a unique experience. So what you're talking about spectators, like diehards coming to the games in Vegas, which is amazing. And anybody who knows hockey knows that there was a hockey market there because they had the IHL team back in the day, and it was very well attended. And I think I'm curious what it was like going to school in Vegas, because most of us think of it as just a tourist town, but there's millions of people that live in Las Vegas. Like that's home. So what was it like once you got into the like lifestyle of living in Las Vegas? Was it very similar to living anywhere else?
Well, yeah, it's basically the same as living in any other city. There's just that one strip that's everyone associates Vegas with. But yeah, like the school is the same as Waterloo. Buildings, you got to walk the buildings and stuff like that. You're just not walking through snow every day.
Yeah, it's a little different as far as the climate that you came from and then decided to go back to for whatever reason, because you're a crazy man. But I think it's such a interesting situation, because we do often get pulled to the bright lights, for lack of a better term, of a certain situation. But the reality is, I think no matter where you go, whether it's Regina or Las Vegas or Waterloo, you're going to find a semblance of normal life, would be the best way to put it. Like what you would consider to be the way you want to live your life, that exists everywhere, no matter where you go. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. So that I just think it's such a neat adventure to go on. And so you play out your time at UNLV, and then you're like, okay, what am I going to do next? And you ended up at the University of Waterloo, and I'm curious kind of how that happened. And you're coming from a U.S. program that's had success. So was there a conversation about or a thought in your mind about playing hockey at a school when you came back, or did it just kind of happen that that was an opportunity that was there attached to going to school? Because I'm sure school was kind of your first priority, right?
Yeah, it was mostly just get a degree first of all. Like that last year was at the last year UNLV was the year my dad passed away,
Yep.
and it was the year I broke my hand too, so I barely played that last year, and I was just ready to move on with life. I didn't really want to play hockey anymore, so
Okay.
yeah, I was just kind of just following my brother wherever he went, and
Yeah. Yeah.
hopefully I get a degree there. But yeah, I ended
Right.
up finding a good program at U Waterloo, like sports business I'd never heard of before. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to take. I don't know what led me to that, but that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and then they
And so you wanted to be close to your brother, which I understand with the stuff that went on in your family dynamics. And like you decide to go to Waterloo, you're going to be close to your brother, which is amazing. And he talks a lot about how you kind of influence his decision to be a goalie. And sometimes, the younger kid always gets put in net when the older kid wants to shoot. So
yeah
I think it's so neat. And even though, you know, I don't, the word symbolic's not the right word, but you're the practice goalie for the University of Waterloo team. So you fill in where needed, and that's your role.
yeah
Um,
exactly
but there's something special about being able to share the ice in that high tempo of a competitive environment with a sibling or a family member, right? And I want to know what that felt like. Like, was it surreal the first time you stepped on the ice together for a practice in that environment, or like how did that go? Because I know from my racing background and being able to do something at a very competitive, highly competitive level where you share in the same emotion as your family, is a pretty unique opportunity. So
yeah. I think it didn't really hit me until the first game because we'd always practice together in the summers. But yeah,
okay,
that first game when we hit warm up, that was really cool. Just to like trade off, take shots.
no doubt.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. So was that a preseason game or a regular season game? What was the scenario around that game
Uh,
where you guys were both dressed?
I think it was in the second semester. The other goalie got hurt, I think, and
Okay.
then uh, they were looking for another goalie because their third goalie that they had was on a co-op term, so they didn't have him that term.
Yep.
And my brother just like, yeah, my brother played goalie for maybe invite him up for practice, see how he does. Yeah, that's it. That's how it happened.
That's pretty cool. So what do you and immediately you're getting put into like game action as the backup goalie because their number two guy or number one guy or whatever is hurt. Um, what did you find when you first went to practice at that level? What it was like because you're playing with former OHL guys and junior B guys, junior A guys. I'm curious what it felt like compared to your days at UNLV as far as the caliber of the players or the group as a whole and the elevated skill level, or was there one at all?
I'd say it was fairly similar because at UNLV it was like junior B and junior A guys that were coming out. So it's a little bit higher skill level in at the OUA level for sure. But I could adapt to it quickly because in the summer me and my brother would train together. We'd train with NHL players, AHL players all the time. So
Yep.
we were kind of used to higher speed shots. So I think that helped me adapt quicker.
Yeah, for sure. Well, then that's one of the things. If you've seen it before, or you're relatively similar in your competency that you're used to, it's not such a big jump. And that's why I was curious about, what did it feel like? Because I think we have a bit of an illusion in Canada that we're the best. Um, and there are a ton of great hockey players elsewhere in the world. And I know there's Canadians going to the U.S. to play at some of those schools and stuff, but just understanding that there's great hockey in places other than the OHL, I think is an important lesson for young players to hear that are coming up. Like playing, if you don't get drafted to the OHL or you don't play in the OHL, not the be all end all of your career. There are other opportunities, and the levels aren't that different as far as, you know, the speed, the game speed, or the type of opportunity that you get from it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. I played when I was playing roller hockey. I ended up playing some like pro games in roller hockey. So there were some AHL and NHL players in those games too.
Right.
Yeah, and then I ended up playing on Team Canada too for roller hockey. So I got to see a bunch of pro players there too.
Yeah. How long ago was that that you played on the Team Canada? Because do you know a guy named Sean Furlong?
Yeah, he played at Western.
Yeah. Furry was a kid I coached back in 2006, like going way back here.
Oh, wow.
When he was in Major Midget. Yeah.
I think I played 2017, but yeah, he was on that team.
Yeah. Cool. So small world, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I know that the roller hockey thing is such an interesting thing, because I think that the transition for a skater is, like you said, it was tough to play goal on roller hockey skates, or like it was a lot different than you thought it would be. I know there are differences for skaters, but I think the general flow is the same. Whereas with a goalie, there's a lot more resistance from those rollerblades than there are from skates on ice. So maybe talk a little bit about the biggest challenge you felt you had to overcome when you transitioned from ice to rollerblades.
Yeah. Well, the first thing I noticed was you couldn't T-push, you can't shuffle, and you can't butterfly slide. So the first thing I did was...
that's basically your whole game.
Yeah.
You got to change it.
Yeah. At first, there's a lot of flopping around and jumping around.
Yep.
But there was this company that made sliders for your pads. So you could...
Those are the ones with the wheels on them?
Yeah, I tried those out first, but they ended up making them illegal for actual games, so I couldn't use those. But
okay,
I figured out how to move on my knees better, I guess. So that kind of helped with my ice game as well. And then I scratched up all my blades so they were loose that I could slide on the floor. So I could T-push. I was probably the only goalie that could T-push, because I figured out I just had to dull my rollers a little bit.
Okay.
And then shuffling was just pretty much the same thing. Like I just dulled my blades again, and I was just pushing on my front toe, because that was the only wheel I didn't touch. So that one was still sharp, so I could still have some control.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would imagine it kind of looked like the first time you went out, because I always have this reference to like 80s and 90s goalies, and it looks like their feet were in mud and they're like yanking them out and jumping across the net. That's what shuffles and stuff looked like. And I would imagine that's what it looked like the first time you went out for roller hockey, because you're like, what is going on here? I can't do anything.
Yeah, exactly.
And like, it's just neat to hear the story about messing with your equipment to try and find something that works. And I think, whether it's ice hockey, roller hockey, whatever it is, trying to find that recipe that works for you with your equipment and paying attention to that, because it is so valuable. It can give you an edge, or it can hurt you if it's not right, is a really great lesson for goalies to hear. So you played a little bit for Team Canada in roller hockey. What was that like, as far as because it's not something that when you're playing ice hockey, you don't aspire to play for Team Canada roller hockey, but it's a really incredible opportunity, and they travel all over the world for tournaments, and I think it's just such a the experience still has to be a really cool one as far as you're doing something related to a sport that you love for your country. Just maybe touch on what that felt like to do that.
Yeah, it was really interesting because that year I played was the first year that the program was starting up again, because it got suspended for not fielding a team for a tournament, because I think there was some political thing going on in Colombia, and that was where the tournament was going on that year. So obviously Team Canada didn't go. They got suspended. But yeah, the year I played, we had to get a certain placement to make it to the next tournament. So that was cool that we were working towards something and not just playing to have fun. We were working for other people to play for the next year.
Setting up the next group for success.
Yeah. And I ended up playing 3 games, I think. One against Italy, Switzerland, and Colombia. Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool, because that's not something that everybody gets the opportunity to do in their lives, is play an international competition where it does mean something for those countries and those players that are there, whether it's, like you guys were trying to get back to a certain level. And, I think like Italy and Colombia and some of those countries are trying to do the same. They're trying to advance to a higher level or earn a spot in a tournament or something like of that nature. So there's definitely a lot on the line. It's not just for fun.
Yeah, like it was really cool because like you never heard of like Colombia play hockey. Like, they were actually really good. Like, and like Italy was really good too, and Italy was hosting, so like they had a full arena too when we played them. It was really cool.
Wow, I think that's so amazing. It's incredible the journey that hockey can take you on, especially if you're open to different opportunities and things that present themselves. And I think in the end, it's, very few of us are ever going to play or coach in the NHL. So it's about the experiences you get to take away from it, right? And you've had a lot of great experiences in a short amount of time from hockey. I mean, going to UNLV and helping that program, not even knowing they had a nice hockey team, and then helping that program advance to D1, and then going to UW and actually suiting up and skating in a regular season game warm-ups with your brother, and then playing roller hockey for Team Canada. I mean, those are experiences that a lot of people will never get. And you've got a whole scrapbook on them already, and it's still early. So I think that's amazing. I'm going to throw it to you just to add something, if there's something you want to add about all of it. But I think, we've got the really good bits of the journey that hockey took you on from Northern Alberta, playing with your brother and going to a roller hockey tournament in Chicago, and then ending up in Italy playing in front of a huge crowd. Like, it's just an amazing story.
Yeah. Well, this last year, UW went to Europe to play a few preseason games too. And I ended up getting put in one of the games against the Swiss team from Zug. And it was really cool because me and my brother split that game, and he was like, "Oh man, that was so cool! You made some good saves." it was pretty cool playing in front of an actual like pro team. I've never played against a team that's gotten paid before.
Wow, man! Like, that is just and you would have never. I mean, you might have dreamed of it, but at some point, you were like, I know my path, or this is kind of what I'm doing, and then to end up in Europe playing against a pro team with your brother on the, like, that's next level stuff that I don't think you could dream that up, probably. So that's amazing. Well, let's leave it at that. I think I just think it's such a great story, and I'm happy that you were gracious enough to share it with me today.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you.
Once again, I'm grateful to Terry for sharing his unique hockey journey with us, and wish him all the best as the next chapter of his life begins following his graduation from the University of Waterloo this spring. And with that comes the end of this journey, for now, with the SHFT Hockey Podcast. It's been a real honor for me to be able to bring these 5 hockey journeys to you over the last several weeks, and I'd like to once again thank Morgan Baker, Michaela Schnarr, Trevor Martin, Stephanie Slaus, and Terry Martin for agreeing to share with everyone and allowing me to present it. And there's a valuable lesson here that I want to share with you. It's important that we do what feels right for us, and especially so when our intentions are geared toward helping others. With that comes an understanding of the importance to maintain a healthy balance in how much we give to others before we are not giving enough to ourselves. This world was created for things to come and go from it. Just look at birth and death for all the evidence you need. So it should not be with a feeling of failure that we move on from things we've started or change how much time or energy we want to invest in something. But instead, we should look at those things as opportunities. We've had the opportunity to learn, we've grown, and now we must move forward in the way that best speaks to us. So, while I've enjoyed creating and presenting this podcast to you, it takes a lot of technical work behind the scenes to produce, and I don't deem that to be the best way to spend my time, as it takes away from things that have more value to me right now, based on the priorities I have in life, the most prevalent of which is happiness. We have much to be grateful for in this life, and should choose to be happy as we travel along this journey, especially when it comes to the things that we have choice in, which, spoiler alert, is everything. So, until the next podcast, or until I see you at the rink again, or if we never cross paths again, thanks for listening to the SHFT Hockey Podcast, and take care of yourself out there.